Potatoes, corn, dry rice, it's all the bloody same seeds, Boy remarked. He was digging through the farming kit on the morning of his second day as an impromptu colonist. They stole it from us, Lady concluded, catching the seed bags Boy was throwing over his shoulder. Something don't add up. Why'd they take it to the ship then? Cosmic people stuff, Lady shrugged. It's mad though. You think that wonk knows anything? Probably not. Gonna ask him. Oi, wonk! What was this? Staves! My good lad, get your fat ass out here! Staves peered around the door of his hut. Yes, it was his hut now, it seemed. He didn't help build it, but that was the way in the old castles of pieces. As usual, he just stared without speaking. Boy was waving him over, and like a fish being reeled in, Staves approached the colony kit with diminishing steps. You have any idea why the cosmic folk were hauling seeds from our fields? How is that possible? You heard anything from the bishops during those visits or whatnot? Boy asked. Staves pointed at Boy. Is your name really Boy? He asked quietly. Yeah, Boy, and this is Lady. That's weird. Uh-huh. And what kind of name is Staves then? That's my name. Yeah, I know, I was trying to... Look, answer my question. Who called you those names? He asked, unmoved by Boy's increasing frustration. It's none of your business, wonk, Boy snapped. Staves nodded and began returning to his hut. Boy, I think he's a little wrong in the head, Lady commented. Better make it worse. Pray, Staves. Pretty stupid name that and all, huh? Gonna explain yourself on that pile of rubbish? I thought not, Boy hollered, his voice ringing around the arms of the mountainside. Lady rushed over and tapped Staves on the shoulder before he made it back to his flatpack abode. Staves, aren't you going to help us? We might die, she said, with eyes as wide as they would go. Staves' eyes widened too, in fear. Let's just wait for the others, he mumbled. He tried to turn away, but Lady grabbed him. We might never see the others. We're trapped here, Staves. You're from the castle, aren't you? Never lived on the land. Staves shook his head. Well, the thing is, we're going to run out of that cosmic food, especially if you're planning on keeping this up. Lady poked Staves' pudgy belly, drawing out a little shriek. I don't know how to... Sorry, I don't know, he blurted out. Can you help us? What did you even do for Griffin? Sing. Sing? And dance a bit. By the bits, he likes that. I don't know. Is there anything you do know? I can write. Write. Right. Is that going to keep us alive here? Might. And what if someone comes to steal our kit? Fight. Fight. Suddenly Lady faltered. She saw the crossless crossbow leaning against the wall in Staves' hut. She stared at it until Staves broke the silence with a loud vocalization, repeating a note in short triplets. In response, Cannibal bounded up from her sniffing patrol nearby and sat beside him. Staves crouched and hugged the husky, offering her some cosmic people food mush. So, you can talk to the hound? Lady asked. Staves nodded. That's good. Good. See if you can get it to find us some food, or help, or anything, alright? Staves nodded. And if there's any trouble, you know how that thunderbolt bow thing works, don't you? Staves nodded. Good. Okay, that's alright, isn't it? Staves nodded. It occurred to Lady that Staves might have just been rubbing his face on Cannibal the whole time, but she considered some form of agreement reached nonetheless. Seeds are from the cosmos, he said as Lady walked off. What's that? She asked. Same seeds as cosmic people. We might have got them the same place as them, in the past. Ancient ballads of cosmic people were around, before the first Hillocat got found. Not allowed to read them, but trust me. With those final words, Staves made eye contact with Lady for the first time, and the intensity of his earnest stare almost bowled her over. Right, she uttered before scrambling back to Boy. Boy was kicking the mud beside the river and sniffing the scattering dust. You get anything? He asked. He's... Lady trailed off. What? I don't know. Great Gadby, you fell in love with him just like that. What? Get that look off your face. I saw his dog whispering. That's farm talent, that is. I'll work on him. You can cool off in the river if you like.
Boy, what's wrong with you?
Been waiting to see who'd get ya. Didn't think it'd be out here.
Boy, cursed bits be yours.
Yep, all of ours. I'm gonna do this though. If we're here a while, you'll all be worshipping me for it. Let's have ourselves a homestead. Ignoring the rage Lady had been driven into, Boy got to work. His profession, no less, crop farming. It was easy to ignore the entire situation when you were wrist deep in the filth, and the seedling taters were more willing servants than his two fellow colonists. With this, it was like things were back to normal for Boy. This time last week he'd been doing the exact same thing on a different world. Planting below, keeping an eye out above. Now it wasn't his father he had to keep track of, but whatever the new world was brewing out there in the swaying mountainside forests. While Boy was kept busy, Lady carried on setting up the lean-tos and huts to stow the colony kit away. She had left a load of unknown cosmic people stuff in a box in one such shed, and later heard a clanking sound from inside. Peering around the door, she found Staves sitting on a table covered in the pictograph colony guides. He was darting his head back and forth between them and attempting to combine a few spindly machinations in various orientations. Was this helping? It was truly impossible to say, but Lady was satisfied that her intervention that morning had worked, and she was almost certain that she wasn't in love with the wonk, despite how long she spied on him for. That evening, she and Boy established sleeping spots for all in a terrace of 3 huts against the mountainside. Already they had something resembling the kind of borderland rural village Boy had spoken of from his younger days on the march, albeit lacking the hectic motion of village life. As it happened, a little more life was on the way. Boy and Lady spent the 3rd day shoring up their shelters, while Staves clanked about in the shed with a set of seemingly impervious metal eggs from the colony kit, throwing them around to the uproarious wonder of Cannibal. Then, that evening, 2 people came hiking up the mountainside. And for clarity, remember the mountainside was almost flat, so the up part of the hike shouldn't be overstated. "Oi, stop there!" Boy shouted once he spotted them. Staves took one look from the shed and quickly dashed out. Lady, peering from the growing kitchen next door, thought her brave knight was about to deliver on his promise with the thunderbolt bow. But he actually scurried into another hut, Lady's hut no less, and slammed the door closed, apparently extinguishing the candle glowing through the gaps in the doorframe too. "By the bits and all, you're bloody alive!" she heard Boy shout outside. Her fears retreating, she stepped out too, and was shocked to see the same face that had greeted her when she had fled to Lord Griffin's castle on the fateful day.
"Auntie!"
she gasped.
"Hello, Poppet! Fancy this then!" the woman smiled.
She wore a long black coat like an executioner from the capital, and a like-coloured tool hung from a strap across her chest, roughly resembling another crossless crossbow. "She's alive! I knew we weren't doomed!" Boy beamed to Lady. His aunt chuckled and put a hand on his shoulder.
"Oh boy, you are a delight! No, we are doomed," she assured him. "This whole pilgrimage has gone to the pits and back already. Yet sure as bells ring on Peace Day, this isn't the end of it." "Who else made it?" Lady asked. "No sign of Griffin, tell you that much. Oh, and that's bad news for him, because you know what they say. Well, they say this in the castle. You would have heard it later, but... Well, they say that old fart can't live without me. So I'm here. He's probably stuck in his own trouser pocket halfway down from space." "Oh, I do wonder sometimes, but that's not important, is it? You're doing all right. You look fetching. You always had that lovely hair, Lady. Raccoona blood. They all look like that in the tribes, I heard. So anyway, I dropped in the little carriage just over those hills down... Well, you can't see them now. There's a strange place there. I thought it was cosmic people, but no, just... Well, I don't know how to describe it. They're all dressed like a tool bench." She gestured to her black duster. "In fact, got one of them here keeping tabs on me, don't I, darling?" Now she was speaking over her shoulder to the second figure, a man in a brilliant yellow overshirt with a revolver belt just barely keeping said shirt tucked over his rotundity. He looked about at the crew with pursed lips, saying nothing when Boy tried to introduce himself. "Oh, leave him, he don't speak Tindril,"
the aunt said. And here's the weird thing about them lot. They sometimes get you if you talk in one bastion like a priest. You know one bastion? Boy asked. Bits and pieces from around the castle. Had to fix things between Griffin and the bishops all the time, didn't I? Anyway, it's true, they know quite a few of the words themselves. Imagine that. Makes sense to me, Boy nodded confidently. Does it? Oh, you are a clever one. What's it all about then? Means Griffin's got us to the right place, doesn't it? There really is a Hillocat here. At the mention of a Hillocat, a one bastion word referring to sacred places or things, the second visitor perked up and stepped forward to listen more closely. Don't get into that. He'll think you have something they can nick, won't they? The aunt scolded him. But Boy, you're right, Lady said quietly. There's no other way. There really is a chance to draw close to the Overlord. By the bits. Told ya, we can find it together. You staying, Auntie? Boy asked. Well, actually I'm his prisoner right now, she said, nodding at the yellow shirt man. Only here because he's checking all the crash sites. On his rounds he is. I think the trouble is because my cosmic carriage landed on his cow. Big hairy thing it was. He's taking me to their big town. I reckon a week away or something. Time to brush up on the one bastion and charm things back together. Another day, another job, innit? What are we meant to do? Better brush up as well, huh? Best not alone, though. Might be more of us around the place if you're lucky. Actually, we have a wonk from the castle. You probably know him, Staves. Oh, Staves! I love Staves! Auntie beamed at her captor, perhaps eager to introduce him to her pet minstrel, but the enthusiasm wasn't mutual. Right, well he's in there, Boy scoffed, pointing at the relevant hut. He's like a mouse. Staves! Yoo-hoo! The aunt called. Stop being rude and come say hello. When there was no response, Auntie gripped her weapon and lit up the mountainside with a burst of fire. It was directed at Staves' hut, not that the shots landed anywhere close. It is loud, isn't it? She nodded, sniffing the smoke drifting from the barrel. The door on the hut opened and Staves peered out. Bits be with you, missy, he said, barely audible. You speak one bastion, don't you, my little pig? Auntie called with a smile. Yes, missy. And you'll talk to the strange folk around here for my niece and nephew, won't you? Yes, missy. You'll have to show them your songs, won't you? Yes, missy. I still have your hat, it was in my bag the whole time. Shall I leave it here for you? Yes, missy. He's a good boy, that Staves, Auntie said. Boy remained credulous of that, and asked Missy to stay a few more times, but she was insistent on going with the silent local. Really, you'll be fine, she claimed. You've got those quills, don't you? I've seen him use them. You can cut down trees, and then you run it over the wood and fiddle the twisty bits, and it can make it change into stuff. You can feel the bloody bits in the air as he does it. Magic it is. You'll get the hang of it. Staves is going to learn it for us, Lady said. He's a marvel, a miracle. Wait till you hear his voice. Griffin always had trouble with that angel. He's too much, really. But I'll leave you to it then, shall I? Keep your hands clean. Oh, hang on. I should say, boy, lady, that I'm terribly sorry about your father. Why? Lady spat. You know, it's polite to be, isn't it? You're better off here, I know it as well as you. Worked out, didn't it? You've got your whole lives ahead of you, so don't let it pass you by. Hillocat wait until you're ready, won't it? I'll write you. Stay clean. Without much more of a farewell, she was gone, flowing with inexplicable confidence for her kin's future in the wilds. Boy could hardly try to understand this strange meeting, as his mind was filled with ancient prophecies, lost prayers, and the righteous goal of a Hillocat crusade. The holy words and the crops, it's all linked, he argued to Lady the next morning. There's a Hillocat here for sure, and we've been brought here to find it. That's what all this is about. Maybe, but what are we actually gonna do? We can't go walking in these stupid clothes, Lady said. We'll sort that out. We'll sort everything out. This is it, Lady. It's gonna be us. Me and you. Imagine it, holy crusaders. We'll get the wonk to make a song about us. That does sound nice. I'm just worried. Courage for the cosmic peace, Boy chanted, waving his arms at the sky. You really think the wonk will help us? If he don't, then we don't need him. That's the path, isn't it? Guess we'll learn it hands and faces. It was agreed that they would carry on unpacking the colony kit to further their nest, with eyes open for a holy relic of the supernatural Overlord. The Overlord was manifested from a large number of these so-called Hillocats, and prophecy foretold that the reason behind the chaos of pieces was that all the pieces after which it was named were not actually present. That is to say that a crusade to another world was required to bring salvation, or some such thing. One Lord Griffin had fancied himself such a crusader, and the arrival of the cosmic people to pieces, coinciding with the arrival of refugees boy and lady to his castle, had bundled the fate of them all together before unravelling down to that collection of mucky panelboard shacks in a forgotten woods. The courtier Staves fell from the weave also, but was he as passionate a crusader as the rest? Very hard to tell with the young man, yet one could divine a few clues from his strange ways. One clue came that same day, when Lady went into her hut to find Staves sitting on a stool staring at a boulder, clearly dragged in there via the churned up mud trailing back out the door. It was a rough, common rock, not so worthy of inspection. Obviously, Staves knew otherwise. "Lady, tell me who you are," he asked, keeping perfectly still. "I'm worried about you. Do you really need to be in here?" was the answer, as Lady sat on her bed. "I need to tell you who I am." Staves picked up a chisel and started clunking away at the rock. "Can't you just say it? Or sing it, minstrel?" "Sorry." "Missy said you're a raccoona. That's what they tell me. You can't talk to barbarians like me, is that it? Just need to know what you look like." "Staves, you are allowed to look at me, you know." Staves disagreed and kept chiseling away. "You don't know for sure?" he asked after a while. "What for sure? Raccoona?" "No, I was a baby. You'd think a castle wonk would know what was happening in the villages." "No." "Really?" "Sorry." "They stole me. Didn't you ever wonder where the slaves were coming from?" "I didn't talk to any slaves." "Yeah, but you saw them, didn't you?" "Sometimes." "And they looked like me, didn't they? Like northerners?" "Didn't really look, sorry." "By the bits. Black hair and sideways lashes, that's what they all comment on. Maybe you can just imagine it." "I have black hair." "Yeah. You a raccoona?" "No." "Sure?" "It used to be brown. They made it black in the castle." "What? They changed your hair?" "Griffin likes it." "Right. That's why it's all ugly too, stupid spikes and slants like a monster." Staves had no comment on this. Lady actually felt a pang of guilt and looked around for a way to salve her insult. She saw the hat Missy had thrown in at Staves the previous night, still sitting upended in the dirt. "What we'll do is give you a nice, wonky look, but one that seems a little more normal. How about this?" she said, placing the black bowler over that offensively featured head of hair. Staves touched the hat with one finger, then went back to chiseling right away. Lady was now standing right at his back, and could see something emerging from the rock. With each tap of the hammer on the chisel's end, the tip would spark against the igneous crust and blast some away. A cosmic people tool. It was revealing the image of a face, with a wide chin and tall forehead. It was her. Understanding now, she sat back on the bed and watched Staves work. The steady rhythm of the chiseling sent her dozing off, and its sudden end brought her back a couple of hours later. She rose, coughing against warm, dusty air, and saw a sharp-edged stone face sharing a close stare with Staves. As far as Lady knew her precise appearance, this was it. "No way! You did it! You were peeking," she said with a smile. Staves shook his head. "Just remembered you from when I looked before," he said. I'd do that too. When you see something, you can always look back and see it perfectly. You get that?" "Had to practice." "People always called me weird for it. They said it was magic from the tribes, so I shut up. And it is magic, I reckon?" After a long pause, she added, "Looks like we're both witches, then." Staves looked at her for supposedly the second time. His square face was coated in dust, and the quick motion of his neck launched a cloud from the rim of the bowler. "You think well of me?" he asked. Lady glanced at the door before replying,
Maybe.
Is it true that you're in love with me?
What?
Lady chirped, jumping to her feet.
That's what I heard. What you heard? Staves, we've got work to do. Don't be stupid. I never even said you could come in here, did I?
Sorry, he said, wandering off outside and leaving Lady with her stone mirror. Lady didn't pay it much attention, busy being furious, although she wasn't quite sure what at. She ended up strolling from the bedroom huts over to the kitchen, a sturdier construct against the other side of the U-shaped notch in the mountain they were calling home. Inside, she anger-chewed a load of cosmic people food and stared at the wall. She could hear Staves trying to chisel open those strange metal eggs, but each time he just launched it off his desk and into a wall or two. Lady stewed for a bit, then stood to go set the record straight. But at that moment, there was a loud bang from outside. It was the Thunderbolt bow, which, by the way, was a raggedy bolt-action rifle to you and me. Out there, Staves was rolling about on the ground, gripping the weapon, struggling against something Lady couldn't see through the gap in the door. You can't blame her, as it was a struggle against something very small. Staves rolled onto his feet and fired the weapon again, smacking a handful of dirt up from beside him, but doing nothing to stop the ravenous, mad, manic, ferocious squirrel that was chomping at his legs. With a cry, he dropped the gun and ran into the kitchen. Lady began to shake and leapt up onto the table before the door burst open. The squirrel was on Staves' shoulder, gnawing at his face.
Staves, what are you doing?
Lady shrieked. She had lost control of herself and slid down into a heap against the wall.
It attacked me! It attacked me!
Staves said, reeling around and waving his arms to try and get the critter climbing over him. But his large frame made it difficult. After a few rotations, he lost his balance and stumbled into the rock face the kitchen was built against, smashing himself across the forehead and crumpling to the ground. The squirrel kept chewing at him, seemingly intent not on fighting the fellow, but eating him. Luckily, Boy rushed in to investigate the racket and saw his two colony mates incapacitated before the victorious, vicious squirrel. "By the bits!" he had time to exclaim, before the squirrel was rushing up at him too. But the forest creature had met his match. Boy was quick with the dagger in his belt, and within a second the kitchen was decorated with the rodent's innards. The sight had Lady hyperventilating, and Boy was at once beside her, pulling her close. "It's alright, nothing more," he said. "Mad beast. Must have been taken by a curse. Are you hurt?"
"No, but I think Staves,"
Lady whispered. Staves wasn't moving. Boy rolled him over and saw he was breathing, but his face was bloody from a gash above his eyes. "Hold still, Wonk. Got just the thing," Boy said, racing out and returning in moments with a blue bag from the colony kit. It was a first aid kit, but Boy was unfamiliar with the majority of the things inside. A bandage he understood though, and after a struggle with the paper wrapping, he had Staves striped with white fabric over all manner of leaking cuts. "Unbelievable. What did you do?" Boy asked.
"It wanted to kill me,"
Staves said. "And here I was thinking these familiar animals were another sign of the Hiller cat. Maybe they are a little different to our ones."
"It was mad."
"Let's hope it don't have any friends out there then. A single squirrel bringing us to our knees. That's no way to go about things, is it? Bits hide the day the trees send us two of the beasts."
"Boy,"
Staves wheezed. "I'm here, Wonk. You'll be fine. First time getting a drop of the flow spilled."
I asked Lady. She said she didn't say she was not in love with me, but she didn't say she was.
"You what?" Boy said, his smile swinging open as he turned to gawk at Lady on the table.
"Staves, you pitbug!"
Lady raged, opening her reddened eyes and sitting up. "I reckon you're right, my lad," Boy said, clapping Staves on the shoulder and getting a pained groan in response. "You're a braver bit than I thought, though. Asking a girl that to her face, and doing deadly battle with a monster. Proper night this one is. I'll never make it, will I?" Boy's attempts at levity missed Lady entirely, but it was a familiar scene for her. He was always like this after an incident back on the old farm. It wasn't meant to cheer her up, just bring her back from the brink. and she was certainly back today, scowling at the two men sat in the dirt below her fortress table. Boy sighed. "Right lot of bloody chances we are, eh?" he said.
"He is anyway,"
Lady said of Staves. "He's getting used to it, aren't you?"
"I don't know," Staves muttered.
"Nah, you are. You, brave Sir Wonk, and the strong lady up there, and this here farm boy. Us three are gonna make it. We're going up in the world, and we're gonna find out what the pieces have planned for us here. Simple as that, isn't it?" It was not as simple as that, but Boy had the right spirit. This brings the story to the end of its introduction, wherein those three bloody chances came to call the mountain cove their home. They pledged together to keep themselves alive, and to one day work out how this new world was connected to their own pieces, the land and lord. It wouldn't be easy, but it wouldn't be a roll-up chronicle if it was, as they said in the old days. The new days would have them saying it again.